Hi guys, I am back on this beautiful sunny day. It's been so nice this week in Hollister, and I think pretty much California. It's been really sunny, and we have a nice break from the winter, the nice break from all that rain. So that's nice. I want some rain, but I don't want the cyclone storm back. I was inspired to do this video because every day or whenever I check my plants outside in the greenhouse, I check on my propagation tray that I have for my succulents, and it has been just doing so well, and I wanted to show you guys how I do my propagation tray. There's like obviously a million ways that you could do this, but this is the way that I have found works best for me, because just 2 years ago I would be people would always be offering me succulent cuttings, and I would refuse them because I knew that I was gonna kill it. I was just so bad with succulent propagations. But this time around, I don't know why, I was a lot better, and I just was like kind of in the mindset where like, well, if it dies, it dies. So I kind of didn't like pay too much attention to it, and I also potted it in a big tray versus like putting it in little pots like I had done before. So I thought that I would share that for maybe someone who is not good with propagation like I was, because now, like, looking at what I have here, I'll show you. It looks so great. So I first put this together last fall-ish, I guess you could say. My boyfriend's mom had this dolphin plant planted up in a pot, and it was like dying, like the base of the plant was all dead, but like the ends of it had still like life in it. So I was like kind of inspired, but I was like, well, I don't want the whole plant to die, you know? So I cut the good ends, and then I was like, well, let me just put it in a propagation tray, and it saves a lot of space because you don't have to worry about like a bunch of little pots in your greenhouse or wherever you're storing it. You just have this big tray. It's just easier because you don't have to have a bunch of these little trays in your greenhouse or wherever you're storing your propagations. And also, whenever you gotta tend to them, you only gotta tend to this one tray, or if you have like multiple trays, it's a lot easier than like, even if you have 2 trays, it's a lot easier to take care of just 2 trays, whereas if you were to take those plants in those 2 trays, that would easily be like 50 pots, 50 like nursery pots of succulents. So I'm gonna zoom in just to show you what I got going on in this tray, and maybe point out some things that are, you know, that's been bringing me joy. So here is the propagation tray zoomed in. You can see all the dolphin plants. They really took off, and they're all looking really healthy. When I first planted them in here, they were probably like for instance, this one was just in the pot, like it wasn't sticking out. So like all of these didn't have growth that was coming out of the tray. It was just flat to the soil of the tray. There's also this little plant that it looks really good in the sun, so I'm gonna try not to block it, but it's like kind of glittery. I don't know if you can see that. But I really like this one. It has a really pretty pink fuchsia flower, and it flowers pretty easily. Like I've seen it flower multiple times in a container on our porch or a deck, whatever you want to call it. And then this is one of my favorites right here. See if I can zoom in. Right there. It's so cute. It's this one is what this looks like big. I have a lot of those. This one actually was like a whole plant that I got from Ace Hardware. Like it's still like a whole, like you can kind of see it fit in a 4-inch. Sorry, the dolphin plant. Yeah, so like these, I don't know if you could see it, but why is this? Okay. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like still like kind of in its original form. Like I didn't break it up. So this had fallen over in my greenhouse, and I didn't really have time to pot it up because I had to go to work. So then I just stuck it in here, and it's actually been having a lot of like new growth. So I think I'm just gonna keep it in there until like I find a planter that I really like. There's also some moonstone in here that I have to find. Oh, right here. Let's see. Oh, there's a moonstone right there. I really like that plant. There's a moonstone that's has roots coming out of it, and you can see a little baby plant. There's this, which is like technically not a succulent, but it likes drier conditions. It's like it's an African geranium. I got it from work and I just stuck it in here. That's why it was like so easy to take out, because it doesn't really have any roots. But I have been actually having a lot of luck with propagating geraniums this way. I first started doing it with this African geranium, which I'll put in a picture of what it looks like when it's bloomed. It's very pretty. It has like these deep purpley flowers that stick up vertically. And this plant, just the way it spreads, it's so easy to propagate. And I've been able to like get like 5 or 6 plants from one of the plants at work. So this one had actually inspired me to propagate another geranium, a plant that I have in mind that wasn't doing too well. So I could probably show the geraniums right now, actually. Here's my ivy geranium that I've propagated. I know this is a video on succulent propagation more specifically, but I just wanted to show you that you could also do this with geraniums, and I've had much success with it. And geraniums to me are kind of like in between a succulent and a plant, just because they're very drought tolerant, and then their leaves are kind of thick, you know. And to me, it's kind of like something you see in a Mexican garden. There's this restaurant in San Juan Bautista, and they have a bunch of these, also a bunch of succulents. So to me, it's kind of like a succulent. But anywho, you can see this one I actually just cut yesterday, but right here, like, I'm tugging it, not too hard, but it's not coming out. And I checked it yesterday and it has pretty good roots. And this one as well, I'm tugging it and it's not really coming out. So I did the same thing. I used the same method, except I didn't put it in a tray. I put it in one of these things that I got from, like, I can't remember what plant, but some sort of summer veggie. And I just potted up there. It seems to be fine. So what you're gonna need is a tray to hold your propagation. These ones are just like the cheap greenhouse seed starting ones that you can get from like Home Depot, Lowe's, or Ace, wherever. I recently bought some nice bootstrap farmer ones, so I didn't want to get rid of these because I feel like I still have a few more uses in them before they like completely are broken. This one's already kind of ripped, but I'm still going to use it. So I decided to use these for propagating trays. You could also do it in like the more like expensive like bootstrap farmer ones, but I'm just using this because I want to use those for my seed starting stuff. So then you also need some sort of soil. So you can like make your own mix, which is what I did with the original tray that I did. But if you want to be if you don't want to make your own mix and you want to just buy one that's already mixed, totally understand. You just use like a good succulent mix. I like Black Gold. It's a little more pricier than like your regular, but I'm very against using Miracle Grow. And this is like a way better option. You can get this at Ace Hardware. You can't usually get it at Home Depot or Lowe's, but definitely have it at Ace Hardware. They have it at Amazon. You usually have it at like your local nursery. I would just suggest using something that's organic in general, like when you're using any type of soil, something that's organic and something that is a little more expensive, because if you're thinking about what your plant is growing in, you want it to be in like the best stuff to give it the best chance. So that's why I use this stuff, especially when I'm propagating. You want to be conscious of that. But if you wanted to make your own mix just because you have the materials that I'm going to go over with, that's like totally fine. That's what I did with my first tray. So to make it more of a succulent mix, I would use like a regular potting soil. Again, I used Black Gold, which is not sponsored, but I just like it. I would use Black Gold, and then I'd mix it with like perlite to make it more airy and fluffy. You want it to be in like the best stuff to give it the best chance. So That's why I use this stuff, especially when I'm propagating. You want to be conscious of that. You obviously need some sort of what you're going to propagate. This was a plant. It's actually a pretty big plant, and it was potted up in a planter. Not like a plastic planter, like it was like ceramic, and it was knocked over by the wind when we had our last storm. So it kind of, a lot of the leaves broke off. There is still some kind of like a part of the plant, but I'm gonna cut those up too, and then I'll probably walk around the deck and see if there's any like slitter plants that I want to propagate. So yeah. This is one of the ones that I've been propagating on and off. A lot of it's in my tray. I think I'm gonna do some more of these today, so I'll show you how I do that. This plant's looking pretty good, but I can kind of tell that there's like a lot of leggy parts, and that's usually where I take the cuttings from, just to keep the plant nice and like full looking. So you can see right here, this is gonna be a nice cutting, and I might do one of these. That would also be a nice cutting. So what I do is I just find the part where it's a little leggy right there, and then I cut it, and then we'll do some processing of this as we plant it up. And then right here, it's not looking too bad, but I think I will do it like around here. Yeah, that looks good. And then I kind of just, yeah, the rest of it looks really good. And that also is good for the plant because it's gonna put more energy into like the plant, like the leaves at the base. I could also do this one, but I think I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. There's also this plant. It's kind of leggy, but I just wanted to show you that there is roots starting to form, like right there. Let me see this shadow. My shadow is kind of blocking it. Let me show you. Right there, there's roots, so like you could cut the plant right there and make it more like less leggy if you wanted to. There's some on this plant too. Oh, I'm sorry, right there, so you can cut it there also. I am kind of feeling these leaves, and they're a little mushy. When you're taking propagations from like the leaves of a succulent, you don't necessarily want that mushy part, just because it's not the best leaf, and it'll probably die before it could produce any roots or anything like that. But I guess we'll just try it, so just so I could show you. So you're gonna like kind of twist it off and twist it off, and then we'll twist this one off too because it's a little mushy. Yeah, we'll just leave it like that. This is also another plant. It's a little leggy just because it's a little far away from the sun, but I think I'm gonna cut this one up just because it's like the leggiest of them all. There's this one. I don't know, like it's really cute. I think I'll do like, because it's getting woody a little. I think I'll cut a few of these off and propagate them. And then this one looks pretty good. Like, I think I'm just gonna grab these little leaves that have fallen and oh, it's a little lovely, and propagate from that. Like one just fell off. Oh, there's a few that are falling off. So I'll probably just do that, like grab these and put them to the tray, put them in the tray. I've already had like a nice stack going on over here. So these all have the potential to become new plants. So I'm gonna grab my shears again, and I'm gonna start with the first plant that I talked about, and find that leggy part again. I think it was this one that I decided, yeah, this is the one. Move this out of the way. You can kind of see it's a little leggier than the rest. I'm just gonna cut at the base, and I'm gonna show you how I would process this one. So personally, I like the way that this looks. So I'm gonna keep this rosette, I guess is what they call it. And then once it starts getting a little more leggier, that's where I'm gonna pull the leaves off. So like right here, snap the leaves off. There's already roots growing on them, but on the ones that I've done so far, I don't see any, like I showed you earlier. And then I could feel that these are nice plump leaves, so these were getting enough water and all that, just not enough sun, so that's why it was leggy. And then this is pretty long. You don't want something long like this just because it's gonna take too much energy to bring that water up to these leaves. So you can also see that there's these like little bumps. That's where roots would come out of the stem. This is yeah, that's it. You really only need one node to ensure that your plant can develop roots and become, you know, its own plant, not just a cutting. But for me, I like to ensure that I have the most success. So I'll like keep 2 or 3 nodes depending on how close together they are. So this is like a decent size, just to ensure that I have root development. And then this I just discard. So I'm going to move these to my little leaf cutting pile. And then I'm going to move these to my pile of cuttings similar to that. So I think I'm actually going to do this one first. So this one's not leggy, but there are some like offshoots, I guess you can call. I mean, I guess it is leggy because there should be leaves right here. But I'm gonna cut right here, and look at that. There's already roots growing. So like that's a good cutting for me to start off with. It's already having roots, so it's gonna take a quicker amount of time to become its own little plant. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with another one that's right next to it. And again, there's some root development happening. I think I'll just do like one more and that's it. I don't want to take too much of this plant. Do that one. And again, roots developing. So that's what the plant looks like now. Still very cute. It was cute before and still very cute now. So again, for me, I'm going to process it and remove those leaves that I just don't think look that great with the legginess. I'm someone who, I do like leggy, but it has to be potted up and planted in a very like particular way. Like I mentioned earlier, there's this like restaurant that has a lot of succulents, and a lot of their plants are leggy, but it's like in a very it looks like it's purposeful. So I kind of like that look, but sometimes it just gets too out of hand and it doesn't look like you did it on purpose. So process that, take the leaves off. I'm gonna put that on the left, and then these leaves on the right with my others, and then I'm just gonna do the same thing with this one. So I noticed that these, as I was taking off these leaves, they're a little bit more squishy. So I'm still gonna use them, but I'm not gonna feel too bad if they don't make it. And that's another thing, is that it took me so long to be able to do this. I'm hoping that if you guys do this way, it'll be a lot easier, but you should like be a little easier on yourself. That propagating succulents sometimes comes super easy to people, but sometimes it doesn't. I mean, it's kind of something that you have to leave alone, and I know for a lot of plant people that's hard because you want to take care of your plant and you want to love it, but like succulents in particular don't want that. But then again, they're propagation, so they do need a little bit more love. So it's kind of finding that happy medium of love but distant love. So like I said, I'm just going to be looking for like, see, some of these are popping off quite easy. I'm just looking for some leaves, and maybe I'll pull some off the bottom. But I'm not going to pull off too many because this plant already looks pretty good. So, like I mentioned, the storm knocked over this plant. So we're gonna start to process it, and this one personally is one of my favorites. I can't remember, it's like, I think the nickname for it is like a jelly bean, because I mean it does look kind of like a jelly bean. I think it's so cute, and I like when it gets sun stressed because like it's very red. You can kind of see that with some of these, like that one's pretty red. This little baby is very red, so that's cute. So it's gonna find that leggy part. This is gonna be its own plant. I'm not gonna take off too many of the leaves, just a few. And then this is pretty long too, or sorry, this is pretty long too, so I'm gonna cut it like that. And then discard that somewhere, and then put this on the other side. So there's kind of some cute ones where like the babies already started growing. Come on, focus. The babies already started growing. So when it comes to like something like that, I'm just gonna cut like this right above it, and then this one actually has a lot of roots, so I might just, actually no, because I don't like how leggy it is. So I'm gonna cut right here, and then cut a little bit more on the edge, and then I have enough nodes for it. And then this one was that one that I cut off, so I'm just gonna take off the rest of the leaves, put them in my little pile. And this one's also another interesting one where the baby started growing in the middle. So I'm gonna cut the top stem off, and then that is enough nodes on there so that it could become its own little plant. This one's really cute. It's like a little pup, so I'm gonna do that too. And then this one already has a lot of roots, so I'm gonna keep all those roots on there. So there's this one. This one looked like it was beginning to die because the stem is getting a little like woody, but not in a good way, like in a very thin, like almost decaying way. Because I mean, a lot of succulent stems, they become woody over time, but this one was getting really thin at the very end towards the roots. So to me, that was letting me know that it was getting like too dried out. But anywho, this one's kind of interesting because you can kind of see it was growing a little funky. Like it was probably on the bottom and it was trying to reach for light. That's why it's like kind of swirly. I kind of like these ones the most for propagating because you could just put that flat on the propagation tray or on the dirt or soil, whatever you're using, and your all your nodes are already like parallel to the tray. So I like that because it's just easier to manage all your propagations. Like you just put it down and your rosette is on facing up and your nodes are facing or parallel to it. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but I think I could show you better when I'm putting it in the tray. This one's really cute, and I'm tempted to just leave it like that. I might just leave it like that, actually. So I like the look of that. This is the part that I was talking about that was like it's it was dead. It's hollow. So you want a woody stem eventually because that's what happens when succulents and cacti get old, but you don't want something where water can't travel through anymore. So I like the way that looks. I'm going to cut above this plant and then remove these, or remove those and then cut. Already removed one. And then we're gonna leave it like that and put it in the tray. Like, look how cute. And this is what I mean by leggy and like intentional legginess, because I mean if you look at this plant, it is pretty leggy. Like, there's no leaves right here, no leaves right here, and no leaves right here. But the way it's growing vertically, it looks kind of like something that would be growing against like a wall or something, if that makes any sense, or like a little like shrub or tree. Like, I like that. Like, I could just imagine this in like a nice, like very bright pot, and it's like, that is really cute. And for something like this, you just would just put it right in the propagation tray. I mean, you could pot this up immediately because it has roots, but in the whole purpose of this video is to show that you don't need a lot of space. You don't need a lot of pots, so I'm gonna end up potting it up. It also saves time when you're just putting it all in one spot. So this one is kind of the same deal, where it's like it broke off as a plant and not necessarily like little pieces. And I kind of like the way this looks. It's a little wonky though because it's pretty heavy and there's a lot of roots. Honestly, I'm just gonna cut all these roots. I don't need them. I know that's probably scary to cut roots off, but it's pretty common, especially when you are trying to fit something or whatever. Like, you don't need all those roots, you just need enough to keep the plant alive. So I think I'm just gonna keep it like this. Like, I like the way it's swirling around. It looks very intentional. Oh, actually, I have to cut this off because I can see that it's broken. So I'm probably just gonna cut this whole thing off and then remove these leaves. That's another thing, is like, sometimes these break, and it's a good thing that you can easily propagate them because you don't like lose the whole plant. And even from that, you can get like 10 more plants from just a few cuttings, a few leaf cuttings. I think I'm gonna leave it like that. I processed it, had a few nodes on here, and then I'm gonna take another look to inspect to make sure that there are no broken stems. There's mud encrusted in this plant. It's kind of funny. I don't think there isn't anything broken, but I'm like, now I'm kind of thinking like, oh, do I want it like this? Because I think I'm gonna cut this off, just so it's like, this one's really cute. Do I like the way that looks? I'm trying to imagine it in a pot, if I would like it. Or I could put it down like this and have it propagate. I think I'm just gonna cut this top part off because it is very heavy, and I noticed that. My pile is getting huge of leaf cuttings, which is good. And then, yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep that. That's cute. The sun is going down, so I need to hurry up. Okay, I forgot about these plants. I'm just going to kind of pull off all that dead, or gently pull off all the dead leaves. And try not to put it in the soil mix that I put in the tray. And you can see that legginess. I'm just gonna cut it right here. And when I put it in there, I'm just gonna lay it flat, like that. You wanna lay it a little bit so that the nodes are in the soil, but you don't want the leaves like underneath the soil. I just like doing it that way because it is the best way to prevent root rot in my case, or not root rot, but rot of the leaves. I don't like having leaves that rot. I know it's gonna happen, so that's why you should check your tray often, but when you do that, you're kind of inviting pests and stuff like that. Like aphids are particularly that, so that's why you kind of don't want organic material pressing against it, but it's kind of gonna happen. You just want to minimize it. So I'm laying this one flat. That's like the best way for this kind of plant when you have so much. And again, I'm gonna cut it right there, kind of pulling off all of that. I'm gonna break these up into two. Right here. I'm gonna plant this one. Like the node is right here. So I'm gonna just like put it straight in a little bit and cover it with soil. And then that's the same thing I'm gonna do here. I have a node right there, and I'm just gonna like plant it in the soil. That. For this one, I'll do the same thing. I'll cut it right here. Cut it right here. Pulling off that dead matter, plant matter. This one's kind of a wonky one, so I'm gonna cut that. And perfect, like that. Plant it in there. I'm gonna pull some of these leaves off. If you can't really find a node, then that's when you're gonna have to start pulling leaves off. That's when you'll be able to see the nodes. And also, something that I haven't been doing, but I know it also helps, is that you're supposed to let once you like pull like a leaf cutting off, like, you know, you have a leaf cutting, or you have something like this where like the node is exposed, you're supposed to like wait a little bit before you put it in soil, just so that it could callus over, and it's supposed to minimize your chances of like rot. But for me, I haven't had success doing that. It usually like shrivels up too quickly or something. So I just plant it straight away, and I've been having, obviously I have some plants that like propagations that shrivel up and die, but for the most part, a lot of them can stay healthy long enough for roots or like little babies to pop up. But if you aren't finding success doing this way of planting it straight away, it might just be because you need to let it callus over. So you got to kind of find the way that works best for you. And also like kind of like how often you're checking your plants and stuff like that. Like I don't really have time to like check my plants all the time. My outdoor plants, that is. I try to do it every day, but sometimes there's a weekend that goes by where I'm just doing too much and I can't. So I don't want to have to worry about it callousing over and all that. So, and also like if you're not giving it too much water, then I don't think it needs to callus over personally, but I know how people have different ways of doing it. And honestly, you don't need to put it into the soil that deeply. You just want to make sure that the node is, probably said that a few times, but you just want to make sure the node. So like, look at, I'm just like lightly pushing it in, and that's it. Like I could still pull it up pretty easily, but as roots start to grow, then it'll be harder to pull them out. So now that I'm done with that kind of cutting, I like to start with these kind of cuttings, the ones with like a stem first, and then afterwards I'll just like kind of like sprinkle in the gaps. So yeah, so like this one is pretty long, so like I can like put this underneath the soil. And again, this one's pretty long too, so I'll do the same thing. And you can put them pretty close together and they'll be fine, they'll grow. And then for these ones, like I said, you could pot them up if you want, but I don't want to, so I'm just going to kind of situate it the best way. Since these roots are pretty deep, I'm not gonna put it straight in just because like my tray isn't that deep, but instead I'll like kind of lay it flat, and then I just put it, I scoop a little way, and then I put it in there, and then I'll cover it up with the soil. Perfect. And then I'll do that with the same thing. Yeah, and when I plant it like that, I'm probably gonna get roots right here, so then you can get even more plants from something like this, or you can just leave it as is, and if you don't like the roots hanging out, you can cut them, but I kind of like it. It looks kind of cool to me, so I'm just gonna, this has a lot of soil on it, so I think I'm gonna take all the like chunk of soil off and just kind of massage it out. And I think I'm actually gonna plant it straight up and I'll put it in the corner. So it's like kind of leaning against something. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. And then now that I've put all of the like stem cuttings in, I am gonna grab all of my leaf cuttings, which is a lot of them. This is just like a quarter of what I have, and I'm going to start laying them down. So right here at the end is where the roots and like the new plant is gonna grow. So you kind of want that, you want it laying flat like this, but you want this kind of this part touching the soil. So I just kind of like, I mean, honestly, you could just like kind of toss it in and then like kind of fix it as you go, just because, I mean, this is a plant that's meant to like be easily propagated, because when it's in the wild, I mean, leaves fall and it wants to become new plants. So I just kind of gently give it a little space so it's like not right on top of another plant and it's touching soil. But you don't really need to be particular. That's dead. I have so much. For me though, I always make sure that these ones are touching the soil the way that I explained earlier. And for like the little jelly bean ones that I talked about, like they're pretty easy to propagate, so I kind of just toss them in just because I know it's like gonna be easy. That's like another reason why I like the propagation tray, because it's so easy to just like put soil in it and then pop all these plants in here. It's literally like you're sprinkling a bunch of little plants. So I like that aspect of it. Oh, I forgot one to plant. Let's find a space for it. I'm gonna take my squirt bottle and I'm just gonna spray everything down. One, this is the plant, or the little plants are gonna need water, obviously, but then I like to do this afterwards, because you could also just like wet the soil beforehand, but I like to do this afterwards because it lets like the little cuttings like settle into the soil, so you don't really have to worry about them like moving around as much. And I just give it a good soaking. I just thought of an idea. If you were to buy the seed starting trays from like Home Depot or whatever, it comes with the dome, so like you could just get that and then take the trays out and then use that as a greenhouse, and that would work perfectly fine. So I'm gonna put this in my greenhouse, and that's where it's gonna be, and I'm gonna check on it every day. You don't want it to completely dry out, and what I mean by that, I mean if you've ever seen a plant and it's so dry that the soil just sticks to the roots and it like kind of stays in that form of whatever like shaped pot it was in or whatever it was in, and that's what I mean by completely dry out. So for like when you look at regular soil, if it like kind of breaks off and it's like, oh, you could feel like a coolness or moisture to it, that's like a good sign that your soil is not dried out, that there is some moisture in there, some water in there. So I would just make sure it doesn't completely dry out. But honestly, I've had it get pretty close to that and it be fine. But you don't want it to stay like that for a few days or a week. You do not want it to stay like that for a week. You do want some moisture in there. So what I do is like every other day, like because it's in my greenhouse, it's like experiencing the moisture from the air, so it never completely dries out. But you don't want it like water to be able to drip out of it. You don't want to put too much water in it because it doesn't have roots yet, so they're just gonna like make the plant or like the leaf like start to decay. This is like a good, like the soil is dark, so that's how you know it's like has moisture in it, but it's not like, I could still carry it, like it's not too heavy. So the sun is setting, so that is my cue to wrap up the video. I know at the end I got kind of a little rushy just because I was trying to do it with all the lighting, but I hope that this video helped. I am very excited that I got to share how I propagate succulents, especially since like like I said earlier, 2 years ago, I wouldn't even be able to do it. I wouldn't accept a cutting because I knew I would kill it. But yeah, this is how I do it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section or whatever. I think it would be cool if you guys did a tray like this, and then like on Instagram you can tag me in it, because I would love to see like what you guys are propagating, or maybe like a before and after of like, this is the tray that's before, and then like the after would be like the one that I showed you earlier. Yeah, I'll try to do that. I'm actually gonna do that. I'm gonna do before and after this one. But yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. Comment other videos you'd like to see. I'm really into propagating. I'm not by any means an expert. I'm more of a person that will be like, I like that plant, I'll try to propagate it, and if I fail, I fail, whatever. Like, I'm still learning, and it's just really fun for me. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend, day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.